So hey guys, today I'll just be looking at Therion Spright. So the concept of Therion Spright is not completely the worst thing in the world, but in terms of maybe level 2 monsters, the synergy isn't completely there. Maybe if there was a really good level 2 monster that works decently well with Spright and I guess Therion, maybe there'd be something, but the Therion requirements are pretty awkward to just kind of try to force something, I guess. But the field spell is pretty good. Like, this Colosseum, once it gets going, it really does net you a lot of advantage. And Sprite monsters being a low stat line, I guess, is actually somewhat advantageous. So if your opponent leaves something in attack position, you can just attack into it with Sprite Blue, for example, and then you can send Endless Engine yugioh system. And let's just assume, for example, your Therion Cross is in the graveyard, then you can go ahead and add the Therion Cross to your hand and then set it, like in main phase 2. And of course, if you, for example, detached or like just for whatever reason you have a Therion monster in the graveyard, after you destroy your opponent's monster by battle, then you can go ahead and add it to your hand. Right here, as you can see. But it has to be specifically destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, so annoyingly, cards, well, a deck like Fluanderies, where all of their things just, instead of getting sent to the graveyard, they get banished, or tokens like the adventure token, for example, those would not trigger Therion Colosseum, so you have to be a little careful about that, I suppose, but otherwise you're doing pretty fine. So I'm thinking of maybe trying to play more towards the 8s, because if I go ahead and play more towards the 8s in Therion, then we can go ahead and do this Zeus line, which is pretty good. And let me check real quick. Where does this summon from? This special summons a Therion monster from your graveyard specifically. Actually, how do we get that to work out? So the awkward part here is that you need to somehow send a Therion to the graveyard. What? So actually the synergy is worse than I thought, because if they're in hand, I don't think Sprite has a way to like just discard a Therion for you, actually. But the good thing, at least, is that this is a quick effect, if nothing else. Let's see. So the banish a Spriggan Therion or Sprite card part of this is not a big deal, I don't think. So the real issue here is how we get the Therion cards into the graveyard. So yeah, I don't see any other choice. Barricade board blocker. Alright. Seems fair enough. And then we need to cut out something from the extra deck. I do want to keep Frame Lord Omega, honestly. Let's see. What does this add back exactly? A Therion card. This is a Sprite card, I guess, technically. So, Endless Engine yugioh system cannot add it back. Dingirsu, I think, is just in general good to have, so I want to keep that if possible. Hope Harbinger is the one that's most likely getting cut. We don't actually need the spell card or effect negate that badly, I don't think, as much. So I think this list is alright like this. Alright. So now I guess at least we have a way to discard a Therion monster. This effect doesn't require anything to be in the graveyard at the time of its summon for some reason. So let's see. We have a completely unplayable hand. So the issue with Therion, of course, is that, well, I mean, at least we have some good hand traps here. Gamma and Ghost Bell together are fairly powerful. But, like, with Therion Coliseum, there is no sprite you can add that can discard a... Or, no Therion you can add to discard a Therion monster. So, until we get a way to, like, drop a Therion into the graveyard, we can't play. So, at least if we have Endless Engine yugioh system, that would work. But what we can do in a later turn is, assuming after our opponents made a play, let's assume we didn't Bell and we only used Gamma, we can still activate Therion Coliseum, normal summon the Ghost Bell, and if they have anything in attack, which they should since they went second, so we can go ahead and attack into their monster to send a Therion from our deck to our graveyard, so that we can special summon our Therion King Regulus, and it can't be ashed because it happens in the damage step, which is pretty cool. But alright, let's see. Now we have Therion Charge, Spright Smashers, and Spright Blue. So discard yugioh, draw 2. Alright. Now, this isn't good, exactly, unless we go ahead and make a link 2. Making a link 2 isn't exactly free here either. We can special summon like Boom with yugioh or a regular with yugioh, and that doesn't do a whole lot actually. Boom with yugioh is 1 interruption and you have infinite impermanence, and then Spright Smashers. You can actually activate Smashers if you want to banish 1, right? Yeah. If you, like... I think if you set blue, it doesn't work, maybe? If you normal summon blue, I guess it might work. Alternatively, we can just... Well, actually, there's a better line to go. I was blind, I wasn't thinking. Actually, what we can do is we can normal summon blue, we can Therion Charge, of course, and then when we add Foom, we don't summon Foom, instead we go for Irregular, and then we go Irregular up back to special summon, Spright Blue, Spright Irregular, and then we can go ahead and make Spright Elf, and then we can start going down that line, and we should be doing much better, I think. And then later on, we can, of course, Foom equip either yugioh or Irregular, depending on how we're feeling. So actually, there is a line, I just wasn't thinking. Now that I think about it, yeah. Because of Spright Elf, there's ways to do stuff, right? Of course. So Endless Engine yugioh system. So you have to either, like, draw into the Spright half of the deck or the Therion half of the deck. That's kind of how it goes, but these hands I've been getting, they're not the worst thing in the world. Well, this is one of those hands once again. Not much you can do about that. Okay, Spright Blue, Lilyboria. Draw 2. You can do the same kind of play where you normal summon Spright Blue here, and then go Spright Elf, summon back Blue. Blue can then add, like, Spright Jet, add, like, either a Smashers or the other one, I guess. And you can Lilyboria add Coliseum as well here to get a Therion Regulus, which is pretty cool. So I guess it's workable. Spright Starter, and then we have Spright Red. Okay, they're in Coliseum as well. So you can starter for blue, I guess. That's always, like, pretty insane, right? And then, let's see. Now that I'm checking this, it says you can only activate 1 Spright Starter per turn, so if the activation is negated, you can activate a second Spright Starter. Like, if Baron on Spright Starter for whatever reason, you could use another one. It's not worth using an Omni on this because your spell trap negates are usually more valuable. Didn't notice that till now, but whatever. I would actually test this deck in a solo, but I don't really feel like crafting these cards right now, so I guess this is the best way to do it, unfortunately. No real other way to test hands. But let's see. There is no machines that we go into, except there. Wait, there is one. We can go into Barricade Board Blocker and then like special summon a copy of Regulus if we link off our Barricade Board Blocker. Which we could. We can't do it for like an IP mask though. So we'd have to make like Apollosa maybe then? Weird. So this hand is not that useful because we can't put a plant into the graveyard for Lilyboria or a Therion for Lilyboria. I mean, I don't think there's a good like plant option at all, but let's just check like plant link monsters. I don't think we'll see anything that we can even generically make. Let's just check for two. Two plant monsters. Two plant monsters. Oh, actually there's Verte. But like, we won't be able to use Verte effect, so kind of pointless. Aside from Verte, there's nothing you can generically make from the looks of it. And I meant to go Link 2, but that's like every level 2 plant actually, so... Is there a good level 2 plant to summon with like Gigantic maybe? But even if you could summon it off of Gigantic, of course you're locked into level 2 monsters, meaning you cannot go into a... you cannot special summon Lilyboria anyways. Kinda pointless, eh? Cyberstein is a little interesting. I'm not sure if I would play Cyberstein here. You can't really summon anything. Like, if you summon Cyberstein off of Gigantic Spright, you can't summon Naturio Exterio anyways. Well, not in the same turn, I guess, at least. I mean, getting unplayable hands is basically expected after a certain point. There was a way to, like, Foolish Burial a Therion of my choosing that would make me a bit happy, I guess. There was a sprite line that did that without going into Gigantic. That's not really possible, is it? Let's see. Rank 2. Well, actually, there is Mannequin Cat. You could do something nasty with Mannequin Cat, maybe. Even if we played like an Ibli, it wouldn't necessarily be super good here, so... If you wanted to, I guess, you could also try to fit in the other Zeus line. You would only need to fit in Centuria and Dannard and just cut 2 from this list. I think that's probably doable. I mean, we don't necessarily need Omega because we can just link off Gamma and Driver anyways, and they are just like a free Sprite Elf, which isn't bad. So like, we could make Sprite Elf off of Gamma and Driver and then like have our monsters not targetable, like when we do our searches with like blue and stuff. You control a level or rank 2 monster. Okay. Let's see, what else do we have? Yeah. Our hand gets gummed up a bit by the Therion cards. That's kind of how it goes. Sprite Smasher, Therion Charge. Oh, that's a good one. Alright, so probably discarding Lilyboria. 1, 2. And then we get Driver and Sprite Jet, which is functional enough. And I guess we can Lilyboria add Disc Coliseum to add, I don't know, Thume's probably fine. Probably sending Lilyboria off of Lilyboria effect. And of course we special summon regular starting Lilyboria, normal summon Jet, summon back Jet, add starter. Special summon blue and then add red, I guess, is probably good. And then we have like enough to also go into Gigantic if we want to search Carrot. So in that case, we should have added Carrot instead. but we also have blue, actually. So we actually have a decent amount of bodies off of the Spright line, even though this is basically, like, almost a one-card cast Spright line. Sprite's kind of gross like that, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, the biggest issue here is that our Therion cards are kind of bricking us, so that's it. I think if we throw in, like, maybe a danger package, that might work out, because they'll just cycle our hand and deck a bit. So that might work out, actually. But aside from that, like, a barricade board blocker hasn't seen, like, a whole lot of use. There was one specific hand where it might have been useful, but... I'm sorry that I don't really have good visuals for you guys on this. I'm doing most of the, like, deck, I guess the board building or whatever in my head. But, yeah. Still not entirely bad, because we do have this line where if we discard, for example, Lily Borea, and we have, let's go with Regulus or yugioh, it doesn't matter. It could be a second Lily Borea. Just any 8. We can add another 8 by searching Discoloseum with our Lily Borea, and then going ahead and grabbing an 8, and then going into Lancelot. Then, if we can, I would probably want to also trigger Therion Discoloseum in that same turn, sending Endless Engine a yugioh system so I can add back my copy of Discoloseum. But anyways, we will then go ahead and attack with Lancelot, who can attack directly. It also somewhat has an Omni negate. So if this gets triggered for whatever reason, that gives us the justification for 7 sins. So then we can XYZ on top of our Lancelot, a Pain Gainer, then a 7 sins, and then a Zeus. And Zeus can just win games on its own, so maybe it's worth considering changing the list around a bit to work some stuff in, and maybe we can cut Barricade Board Blocker. Barricade Board Blocker, of course, can add back a copy of Discoloseum, which is like a thing you could do, but it's probably not going to happen. It's mostly just here so you can discard a card, so perhaps not the best, but I mean, like, well, there were like some playable hands, right? Like Sprite Starter, any hand with Sprite Starter should be like not too bad, right? Actually, wait a second. This actually has a lock on it. You cannot special summon monsters except for level rank linked to monsters. That's actually fine though in this case. We can Endless Engine a yugioh system first, sending Lily Borea, Therion King Regulus, attaching Lily Borea, then we can grab either Discoloseum for like a Thume, or we can grab like a copy of let's see, what's the best one we can grab? Well, we can grab Discoloseum for Thume, or we can grab a copy of Therion Cross. And we will have a copy of Endless Engine a yugioh system, so we will have a negate banish. So considering that, I would actually probably just grab Cross, which is a monster negate as well, which is pretty useful, I guess. Then we can do a Sprite line with Sprite Starter and Sprite Jet, and we are completely fine, I think, right? Special summon blue, add red, Sprite Jet, add like smashers would be fine. And we'll just go through that line, and we have plenty of interruptions and negates that will consume like our whole hand. And what would we draw for turn? Well, I guess Discoloseum probably. Something like a Discoloseum or an Ash Blossom, maybe with their charge. All of those are actually not too bad. So actually, I think the play might be to invest in... Actually, I don't know. Maybe that's not a good idea. Stuff like Trade-In is risky because these are actually level 2. These are 3. Like, a good portion of our deck here, like if we go look at our hand traps here, combined with our Spright cards, and then our Therion cards here, they are about equal in the amount of cards we're running here. So, maybe not quite the play. We don't have a super good normal summon though, so Eperia might be worth consideration as well. Eperia doesn't go even if it draws into itself though. As long as it draws anything else, it will cycle our deck a little bit. And also, no, I don't think Eperia justifies running Alasia. I think, in my opinion, Alasia is complete garbage dog water. Well, I guess that's probably enough for today, though. I might do a solo test if I get, like, a version that looks good. I don't really want to waste my UR and SR points on a dysfunctional trash deck. I'm okay with just a trash deck that somewhat functions, but right now it's looking like a maybe angle. We'll see, though, I guess. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.